Good evening. Welcome to your City Commission meeting. Please turn off and silence all cell phones during the meeting. In accordance with the Kansas Open Meetings Act, the meetings can be viewed live on Channel 2 and via Facebook Live. The public is encouraged to view the meeting using one of those options. The Leavenworth City Commission meeting is open to the public with limited seated capacity to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Face coverings and social distancing is required to attend the meeting. Refer to the agenda packet on the city website how to reserve a seat and/or submit questions. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 7 p.m. and midnight and available for viewing on YouTube and Facebook Live. First item is the call to order, pledge of allegiance, followed by silent meditation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before we get started with the meeting, I have a statement that we've prepared. Thank you, Mike Withdrawal, for helping with this. In the past week, we've had some awful circumstances happen. I've been to the Capitol many times. It's beautiful, like a church, full of history, built by American hands. And contained in there are Americans representing us, elected by Americans. I felt speechless and been in shock this past week, as have many of us. God help us and heal us. I'm going to read a statement from the Leavenworth City Commission. We strongly condemn the acts of thousands of Americans who have attacked and forced their way into the U.S. Capitol on January 6, 2021. Resorting to violence to undermine our democratic institutions and processes or overthrow duly elected governing bodies is unlawful, dangerous, and unpatriotic. In violently assaulting the U.S. Capitol while Congress was in session, certifying the Electoral College vote for the 2020 presidential election, these insurrectionists defaced the Capitol, damaged property, killed a Capitol police officer, injured many other Capitol police officers, and endangered the lives of Vice President Pence and every congressional elected official and her staff. We also insist on federal law enforcement holding these insurrectionists accountable for their violent and unlawful actions, as well as anyone inciting them to violence they perpetrated during their attack on the Capitol. Based on reports from the FBI, there are armed groups and individuals threatening additional violence at the U.S. Capitol on January 20th, President-elect Biden's inauguration day, as well as at all 50 state capitals. This is unacceptable. We urge our state elected officials and Governor Kelly to take all necessary actions to secure the state capitol and Topeka to protect lives and property, while allowing the legislature to conduct its business. Locally, between now and January 20th, our police force will, as always, be vigilant in the performance of its duties to ensure public safety. You have a consensus of the commission?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Okay. Next item on the agenda is a more happy note, the Mayor's Award presentation to Mrs. Maxine Hunter. And I'll do this down here. Hope that we can be heard. Ms. Maxine. And we have with us her husband,
Nancy.
Tab Hunter, who is the former city commissioner and mayor of the city of Leavenworth. I have known Maxine for a great many years. I cannot really remember when I met her, but she's been a strong force in the community since she and her husband, Tab, retired here. She's always been involved in the Leavenworth Lions Club,
serving as ambassador for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, and as a Harvey girl, among many other things. But her biggest impact has been in the area of international relations. Maxine has served on our sister city advisory committee, and she and Tab have spread goodwill to our sister cities, Wagga Wagga, Australia, and Omihachiman, Japan. I know that many of us have relied on Maxine to help us navigate the delicate balance it takes to respect and embracing the customs of other countries, and likewise share our customs with visitors. Maxine has sponsored international military students for more than 20 years, providing friendship. I didn't know how many, so I just say 20. No, it's more than 20. It's more than me, not just 20. Providing friendship and support to many international military students and their families. She's also been a member of the Organization of International Spouses and Sponsors throughout her time, and has served several board positions, including president, vice president, and advisor. For several years, she co-chaired the annual OISS Thanksgiving dinners, the premier event of the organization's calendar. When Operation International Committee was formed by the Chamber in 2008, Maxine unhesitatingly agreed to take the lead. She has been primarily responsible for the recruitment of sponsors and for communication with both the OI sponsors and International Military Student Division. Maxine oversaw the American Orientation Course, a multi-day event held each January and July for spouses and children of each newly arrived IMS class. She coordinated the venue, volunteers, and other logistical details of AOC. She frequently publicized the work of the committee at local civic organizations and through local media. She also coordinated semi-annual trips for the International Ladies to Topeka in Kansas City. Maxine was recognized as the Leavenworth Lansing Chamber 2012 Humanitarian of the Year, among many other awards throughout the years. Maxine recently retired from Operation International after serving since 2008. Maxine is truly an ambassador for the city, for the Leavenworth Lansing community throughout the world. I can think of no one more deserving the City of Leavenworth Mayor's Award. Thank you, Maxine. We're smiling with our eyes. And just a little thing from the city here. Oh, a little pin, city pin.
Oh, well, thank you.
Back of it.
Okay.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Congratulations
Can I
on
say
your
a few
retirement.
words?
You bet, absolutely.
I'm not prepared with a speech tonight. I hate these things. But I want to express my appreciation, my surprise, and my love for the community of Leavenworth. I want to thank Nancy for the nice presentation. You know, I loved my job. It wasn't really a job. A lot of people thought it was a job. It was a job. It was a mammoth job. But, you know, for 12, 13 years I did it, and I enjoyed every minute of it. And to be real honest with you, I'm going to miss my sponsors and all the community people I worked with. I want to take an opportunity to thank all the community, Leavenworth community people, the community fathers, all the businesses in Leavenworth that supported Operation International. And I would go around and I would thank them, and I appreciated everything they did for us. I got a lot of support from the CGSD Foundation. Doug Tice's dad was my very good friend up there, and they were very good at supporting us. So I always had a lot of support, and I appreciated that. I learned to love my sponsors, and when I sent out my letter that I was retiring, I got some of the nicest notes back from so many of them. And, you know, over the years, and if you get 115 international officers every year, you lose some sponsors, you get new sponsors. So, you know, I made friends with a lot of people in Leavenworth and Lansing over all those years, and I really appreciated the opportunity to be able to do that. So again, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Leavenworth, all the businesses and the community fathers, and Nancy, the commissioners. I've had support from everybody. Paul was one of my sponsors, as a matter of fact. And, you know, I can't say thank you enough to everybody that's helped make that a big success. And when I finally found a good woman to take it over, and that was Ann Sobey, and many of you know Ann, she'll do a great job. They needed younger people. They needed new ideas. And I think that they'll really go forward with the program. And I encourage the city and the businesses to continue to support Operation International and Ann and her committee and everything that they'll be doing. I will be an advisor on the committee for this coming year, only because I've got so much up here that I couldn't just put on paper. So I'll be there to help them if they need my help. But again, I want to thank everybody for everything you've done and for making it a big success. Operation International is a big program here, and the internationals appreciate it so much. So thank you again. I appreciate it.
You guys are welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but if you want to leave, that's fine. Love having you here.
I know.
Okay. Thank you, Maxine. That was great. Next item on the agenda, consideration of the previous minutes. Are there any comments or adjustments need to be made to the minutes? No? Okay, do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we accept the minutes from December 8th, 2020 regular meeting and the December 15th, 2020 special meeting.
I second. Been moved and seconded. Please begin voting with Commissioner Griswold.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. And aye.
Aye. Madam Mayor, don't forget us at the little kid station, okay? All right? We're humble, but we don't want to be forgotten.
I'm so sorry. We all bless you.
Madam Mayor, since we're first time in 9 months, we're all here. We have a regular meeting, we just started one, just sort of in the corner like we used to, but okay.
We forgot about it. He's up. Okay. The vote was unanimous. The minutes of the December 8th and regular meeting, December 15th special meeting have been approved. Next item is new business. Any public comments? Anybody have any?
There were no emails.
Okay.
There's a,
I have
Oh, yes, sir. Please come to the podium.
All right.
Give your name and address.
My name is Brian Stevens. I live at 2614 South 25th Street. That's the Whispering Hills subdivision. Thank you, Commission, for allowing me to enter this into public comment. I'm here representing the communities of West Limit Acres and Whispering Hills. These are communities that are west of 20th Street in a little area tucked back behind Henry Leavenworth Elementary School. These two streets, Limit and Vilas, have been identified by the city as major traffic ways, and Vilas is actually a snow route. Unfortunately, both stretches of those roads between 20th and 22nd are unimproved. No curbs, ditch side, all of that. It is barely passable with two-way traffic, and adding to the difficulty is the school dismissal process that's been discussed, I think, for in a lot of different areas. To include last night, the school board discussed that area in their proposals for possible options. The president of the board inquired why the consideration was not for widening at least Violet. Both proposals that were sent to the board included building driveways through the school parking lot or through the green space. And the solution of widening Violet or limit was explained as a cost prohibitive expense right now for the city. Tonight on the agenda, Mr. Greenmeyer is requesting to withdraw his request. He had requested to develop on land in this area. And at the Planning and Development Commission, I and several of my neighbors came and gave public comment. I think we held the commissioners for about an hour and a half, talking about we are not opposed to change. However, we would like some solutions before further development. Back behind Whispering Hills on Heblen is an area that is now for sale. I forget how many lots that is, but it is for sale now. So building is likely, and still we don't have adequate access to R. There's only one way really in and out of our housing subdivision. So I enter tonight into public record the voices of our community, both communities, and plea for the city, the county, the school board to join together to study options that positively impact the majority of the tax-paying residents in the area, not just these smaller solutions that fix smaller problems. With the school traffic and the additions, it is going to increase the traffic there. Many of these residents that live in this area, especially in the West Limit area, have lived there for decades. There are some that have maintained businesses that are staples in the Leavenworth community and are held very dearly to especially people of my age, with the skate rink and the Beamans that live out there. They have watched as the housing subdivision that I live in, Whispering Hills, was developed and passed over them. Some of them are still on septic, where sewer was run out to Whispering Hills. They watched the school be developed, Henry Leavenworth, which was needed, and they saw that the roads, Limit and Vilas, were only widened to the mouth of the entry of the school and not the entire property line of the school. They've also lived through the construction supported by the city on 22nd Street. However, it failed to meet the promises and still remains to be a problem, which is a frustration. Just last night, in January 4th, Planning Commission, there was a similar request that was approved, and you all will be hearing it next. It's 1440 Quincy. The same problems with narrow roads, unimproved roads were brought up, and one of the commissioners repeated a public comment that was provided that this is like putting the cart before the horse. And there was a lot of discussion about the unimproved roads. I know infrastructure is a difficult thing for a city to maintain. However, this is a public safety issue where we are. This is not my story to tell, but we had a house just a couple houses down from me that caught on fire. And neighbors have witnessed or did witness the fire trucks having difficulty coming down Vilas to respond to that house fire, there were tragic results, very tragic results. That has been the fear that my fellow neighbors have had, and so we have joined together to make this known and ask for the city. We have studied the Thornton project, and that was great. 100% city funded by subsidies. That was great. We're asking for some of the first steps to be considered for limit and violence. I know the school board is working with engineers on their side, but I would like to see the city, and part of 22nd Street, I guess, is owned by the county, but the city, the county, the school board to come together to work for an option so that the residents of my community don't have to worry about a good time to have a medical emergency. I do want to enter in, I've worked with Mr. Kramer and emailed back and forth, and I appreciate his help, and he's let me know about a lot of things that were going on, and I appreciate that. And I think there is some movement, and I did see the school board movement, and I appreciated what they entered. However, it doesn't solve the problem. It's only a Band-Aid, and that's not what we would like to see in our community. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your concerns, and your comments will be noted. Next item on the agenda, withdrawal of zoning application. I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, is there anyone else here to address the public, from the public? Oh, okay.
Good.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Okay, next item on the agenda is general items. Withdrawal of zoning application for 2100 Violet and 2100 Lemon Street.
Our Planning and Community Development Director, Julie Hurley, will handle this item.
Hello, everyone. This is just an informational only item. There is no action needed. As Mr. Stevens just alluded to, there was quite a bit of neighborhood interest on this item that was voted on at the Planning Commission meeting last month, I'm sorry. It was a rezoning request between Violet and Lemon Street just to the west of 20th. The Planning Commission had at their December meeting voted to recommend denial of it. After that meeting, the applicant did formally withdraw the request. So this is just provided as informational purposes only, and there is no action needed on your part.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hurley. Anything else on that?
Nope.
All right. Next item on the agenda, County Commissioner Schimke has something to talk to us about.
Taylor, would you like him at the
Podium
or here? Probably better. Okay, podium would be great.
This works for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
to get our technical stuff straightened out.
I'm actually quite impressed. I think it looks very good.
Good evening.
Good evening. Well, thank you, Mayor and Commissioners and staff, for letting me take a few minutes today. This topic is something that came up very early for me at the County Commission as I was, and again, Chad Schimke, I guess, used to be. What is the proper terminology for no longer 4th District Commission? I guess formally I hand the reins over tomorrow. But this actually came up very early in my role with the county, and I was mainly just trying to understand and learn more. At the county, we deal with all kinds of, we deal with a number of issues sometimes in redundancy. I think we deal with, dozens of water districts. We deal with dozens of, fire and first responders. And when sometimes you have redundancy, sometimes there can be potential challenges or issues that come up. The first thing I want to make perfectly clear in this is there was absolutely no agenda, just me asking lots of questions as I typically do to try to better understand, because I think I've asked lots of people, those that are city residents, those that are county residents, those that I know that are on Fort Leavenworth. Everybody thinks the services that we have in place are doing quite well. So I give a huge thanks, not only in the year 2020 when you couldn't imagine what a first responders had to deal with, but in general, we've been very fortunate, I think, as a community. What my question really became, and what I started to ask, my peers, and then wanted to formally come and request of the city is, when is maybe the last time we've had any type of a review or analysis and brought all of the stakeholders, the city of Leavenworth, the county, Fort Leavenworth, and make sure that there's nothing that can be improved upon. I think we should all always, and I think most everybody in this room would agree, we're all aspiring to do more, aspiring to do better. And sometimes when you have, again, redundancy of systems, technology, expense, there's a lot of reasons why we have limitations. But I don't know if it happens as much at the city. I have learned at the county that there's certain things that are done because they've always been done that way. They're maybe done a certain way because there was past conflict or difference of opinion. Sometimes that's many elected agos. So whether that's in some cases decades, but this was I had support from the rest of the commissioners at the county to fund the review and analysis for a true third party. I realize how difficult it can be for us to take, again, the recommendations directly from the county or the recommendations directly from the city or that of Fort Leavenworth. I think it's unfortunately fraught with challenge sometimes to get buy-in. But there are third-party consultants that this is what they do across the country and can come in and the worst thing they're going to do is tell us that everything we have is perfect. and so that was an unfortunate expense if that's the case. Hopefully, they come with action items, something that the stakeholders, and I think if you received the letter, and I brought a few copies as well, recommends that we have stakeholders from each of the entities in question that provide, these dispatch and first response services to bring everybody to the table and review the results that we get from this consultant group and formulate a plan. And I think that's a fair ask in a world 2020 where we're faced with so much more than maybe the typical accident or house fire or things that typically might come through a 911. Loss of life is tragic always, and I think it's probably just been it's that much more relevant through this last year, and it's obviously top of everyone's mind, and people continue to do things they can to make their friends, their neighbors, their coworkers safe. I would hate, and again, this has nothing to do with the job everyone's doing, because I want to make that clear. I think everybody's doing a great job. We live in a world where, because of technology, because of geography, because of sight distance, because of towers, because of variables and anomalies outside of our control, people are in need of help and they don't always land where they should, and that's not anybody's fault. And every time there's an instance where we're making an unnecessary transfer or somebody didn't get to where they needed to on that very first phone call, that increases the chance of risk of something horrible happening or us not, again, getting to an accident. And if it's something that can be prevented, I think everybody agrees it's something that could or should be looked at. So that was my best interpretation, or at least acting on behalf of the county commission to see if we could get the city of Leavenworth's support, and we'll continue to build out the group of stakeholders and who that may include, whether that's anybody from, say Mark, or where we'd want to expand it to. But the county is prepared to take on that cost, because that's usually the next thing when you hear study, analysis, review, consultant. There's obviously a cost associated with that. So with that, I just want to thank you again for the opportunity. Appreciate what all of you do. I don't know that a couple, 2-3 years ago, I would have been able to share in your pain, and thank you. Thank you very much. It's very, very thankless at times, and I want to thank you all for what you do. It's not easy what you're tasked with. So.
Thank you for your time on the commission. We're sorry to leave you go. Let you go.
Oh, thank you very much. No, it's been great. Unfortunately, I can't be in all the places I need to be at once, and it's unfair to my colleagues. So at least I recognized it sooner rather than later. So, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any questions for me while I'm here?
No.
And I have the signed copy of the letter, if I can leave that. And make.
We have seen the letter, so.
Okay, great.
Thank you for your service. Good luck.
No, thank you guys very much. Good luck this year.
Yes,
Yep.
thank you so much.
2021, here we go.
There's no other action on this tonight, this presentation, so, we'll move on then. Mayor's appointment. I'd like to make the motion. I move to reappoint to the Park and Community Activities Advisory Board, Jennifer Brenham and Toby, and Jim Mathis, to terms ending January 15, 24. And I'd like to reappoint to the Sister City Advisory Board, Bobby Bauer, to a term ending December 31, 2023. I second. Been moved and seconded. We begin voting with Commissioner Wilson. Aye. Commissioner
Aye.
Pressinger.
Aye.
Commissioner Griswold, and I vote aye. 5-0. Thank you very much. Next item is resolution. Resolution B 2275, Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report.
We have Mary Dwyer on the screen to present this item. Mary, go ahead.
Good evening, Commissioners. Thank you for your availability to talk about the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report. This is a report that the federal government requires us to do each year. This year it's a little bit behind because of all the grants we got with the CARES Act. It interacted with the federal reporting system, so I wasn't able to get it out until those were all accepted. At this point, I'd like to present the report to you as the draft. It's been a hard year for CDBG with COVID in place, but we've done a pretty good job. We had 15 home repairs. We did 5 first-time home buyers. We demolished 5 residential structures in the community that were blighted. And then we also funded the social service agencies. Those social service agencies served almost double the number of people that they served the year before, again, because of COVID. Those are primarily the highlights of the report. We did receive additional money toward the very end of the 1920 program year. That was the CARES Act funding, and we'll be doing a consolidated CAPERS report when those funds have been fully expended. So this is just for the regular CDBG funds. And I would like to recommend that you consider and approve the resolution approving the CAPER 1920 report as submitted to the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Thank you.
Mary,
I'm open for questions.
Okay. It's always good to hear about the first-time home buyers and the repairs. Were there more this year? It seemed like there were more first-time home buyers than before.
We usually try to do 20 home repairs, so 15 was a little short. And we usually shoot for about 8 home ownership, and again, a little less this year. A lot of that had to do with movement in the market because of COVID, and especially in the first-time home buyer bracket. And then with the home repairs, we just didn't get as many people applying because of COVID.
Any of the other commissioners have a question? Any questions?
I just have a question, just to double check the period of the report, from July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, is that correct?
That is correct. Like I said, usually we do this in September. We finish the report in September, but the federal government, when they issued the CARES Act funds, it it shut down the system for us to be able to do our annual report. So until we got all those grants processed through, we couldn't do the report. So this is our first opportunity to do that.
It's no problem, I just wanted to confirm, the period
It
of
is
the
true.
report. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? If not, do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution B 2275, the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report as presented.
I second. It's been moved and seconded. Please begin voting with Commissioner Withdrawal.
Aye.
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 And I vote aye. 5-0. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mary. Next item on the agenda, bids, contracts, and agreements. Consider bids for the Fourth and Olive Alley CDBG Sanitary Sewer Project.
Madam Mayor and Commission, I'm going to turn this over to our Public Works Director in just a second. This is a project I'm really excited about. Mike's going to talk about specifically about the source of funding for this and sort of the new approach that the city took. And it ties in a little bit to the CDBG program that Mary just talked about and our sort of internal quest to help more people with different problems than we have in the past. So I'm going to have Mike go through this project and a little of that background. Because although sewer repairs are always exciting, this one is even more so. So, Mike, go ahead.
He's learning. Madam Mayor and Commissioners, this is ultimately a request that the City Commission approve a construction contract, but it is a different breed of project than we normally see. This is a block of Leavenworth housing, and it's just north of the Dollar General store at the corner of 4th and Spruce. It's at the top of this picture. Just if you can pull that picture down just a little bit, Taylor, or the other way. There's a row of houses that go between 4th Street and 5th Street. And in this row of houses, we have had, besides other problems that you're well aware of with specific lots, something on the order of 30 calls in the last 15 years related to some sort of sewer problem. And with many of the overflowing sewers that have occurred, they end up into the storm drainage system and contaminate the waters. This is ultimately what we would call a private line environment. The green line that is in the center of the picture serves that entire block of houses. It is curved. It's not drawn in correctly. That was surveyed through the use of equipment from the local plumbers. They could only go so far before their equipment was no longer long enough to go that way. But this line serves the 2 apartment buildings on 5th Street, every lot in between to 4th Street, and then bends around and ends up in the manhole in the middle of 4th and Spruce. And we say it's a private line, and most folks would say, okay, I have a private line in my house that goes from my house to the sewer, and you almost certainly do. But in this case, you have several others that are on that same line essentially with you. And in fact, all of these houses are. And the other thing that stands out for these private lines is they were put in not to any sort of standard even of the time. They tend to be 4-inch lines. They tend to be built very shallow. They're not straight, and probably made perfectly good sense at the time. And on at least one occasion, we have found agreements between property owners that addressed how the line would be maintained if they had problems. I suspect that more of those agreements existed. They have not made the transition over the last basically 100 years to the present. And so what happens is you have somebody has a sewer problem bubbling up in their backyard. Their neighbors' sewers all work fine. And so we focus on the one person that has the problem. It is their property, or the home. If it's a renter, it's the property owner's property. So oftentimes the adjoining property owners, they're not aware that they're connected to the same line, and Some of them, if they are aware, they say it's not my problem and they won't share in the cost of dealing with it. And it can get pretty ugly. So with this long history of problems out there that we knew, we kept running into property owners that sincerely want to do the right thing. They have no resources themselves. And as we talked in our office and with community development and city manager's office, we developed kind of an interesting idea where the CDBG funds can be used to address infrastructure. There's a whole host of paperwork, and Mary's probably still on here somewhere, but she could explain to you what you can and can't use the money for. But through a fortuitous combination of circumstances, this entire block is essentially a low to moderate income group of homeowners or residents. Is also in a census tract that was targeted in some of the CDBG paperwork for an effort to improve things for the residents of that census block. And we did a pretty quick estimate and thought that we could use the CDBG infrastructure money to address the sewer problem. And so we worked with Mary and others over in planning to. They had a whole bunch of different hoops to jump through that they had not had to before. And at some point, you had one of the federal Indian tribes send an official representative out to ensure that none of their tribal sovereignty was going to be impacted by this problem. And it's stuff we don't normally deal with. But this project fell into a really good spot for funding with those CDBG funds. And as we got further into the project, since we'd already said we were going to do it, we found it was actually going to cost more. And so we support using the balance of the funding to come from the wastewater capital funding. So at the end of the day, this is not the only private line. This one just happens to be a nice nexus of a solvable problem. And so the basic solution that we have is shown up on the screen. There's an existing manhole in the alley behind the Pizza Hut. We're going to remove it and build a new manhole. It will bore a sewer under 4th Street. That's the red line you see there. We'll construct a new manhole and then a new sewer line to the west. We'll tie on each and every property will either be reconnected. We're only connecting basically right there where our project is, or they will have, if it's a vacant lot, it will have a place for a future connection to occur. Each one will have their own, each one will have their private line that is theirs. They don't have any friends on it.
Right.
And the sewer line, the yellow line and the red line will in fact be public sewers. Should there be problems, it would be at the collective of our Water Pollution Control Division. So we're really excited to solve kind of a long-standing neighborhood problem. City manager and I have talked. This may be an interesting opportunity to look at some others. This is a problem that is not confined to low to moderate income neighborhoods. There are other more affluent parts of town that have a similar problem.
Right.
Don't know where this goes, but this opens the door certainly to those discussions.
Absolutely.
We had local engineer prepare the plans. We received the 3 bidders. Lane Weaver Construction is the low bidder. They may be listening in on the call tonight. We did not hear for sure if they would be able to or not. But they certainly have experience in doing this type of work, and they are ready to go to work very shortly after it's approved. We have the KDOT permits we need. We have permission from all the property owners. We have met all of the community development block grant requirements with the project numbers on all the sheets and that kind of thing, so that people will know in the future how this project was funded. And if you have questions about this project, I'll do my best to answer them.
Yeah, Mr. McDonald, I
Yes,
have a question. So how old is that sewer line?
Oh, it is most likely 100 years old.
Okay.
Yeah, it's as old as those houses.
It's like in different, probably been replaced in bits and pieces, so it is
Right.
all different types of material.
Over the years, property owners have added a lot of cleanouts to this, or they've had a broken down piece of pipe that's shallow. And I think some of the line has been crushed from where they park their cars, or they had a concrete truck when they were building the, the driveway, and it's crushed the line. So yes, it's been patched together with older and newer materials, but most everyone has tried to do something to make it better. It was not working collectively. But it is as old as those houses, and I think they're bordering on 100 years old.
Great project, old infrastructure throughout the town.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Will there be any effect on traffic, Mr. Johnson?
You probably won't be able to use the alley for a month and a half, but we do not expect. At this point, we believe we can do the sewer boring under 4th Street without impacting traffic. There is a standard traffic control diagram in the plans. If they have to close a lane for some reason, that they would be able to do that, and the state has signed off on that.
Okay.
But we're not expecting that at this time.
Okay, thank you. You may have covered it, Mr. McDonald, but did you say assuming that the city commission approves this recommendation from staff, when would the project start?
They expressed to us that they would like to get started as soon as they can get their paperwork together, and they've got to order some materials and things, but they want to get it done quickly and off their books so they can do other projects in the spring.
How long do you think it'll take once they start?
About 45 days. I think it's probably allocated 60 days in the bid, but they want to be in and out.
And, I understand the low bidder concept, all these are really good companies, but I did, because the engineer's estimate for the installed 8-inch PVC was, almost 35,000, and then of course, Line Weaver came in at 10,500. So, that's fine, but it is much lower in terms of what it's going to cost them versus the engineer's estimate. So we have, I know they have to get the work done, but do they have some special technique that they're using, or?
I think they are very local, and they have worked on fairly miserable projects cost effectively in the past, and they see the opportunity to use their expertise on this. I think being local, I imagine most of their employees are local too. They're not having to pay them extra to drive in from out of town. So we're looking very much to them. We do try to adjust our estimates based on bids that were received. The best thing about this estimate was it was well under what we thought it was,
Sure.
what it was going to be, because we were seeing some crazy numbers right before we put this project out to bid.
So is this amount for the main line and the individual?
It will connect. We're not replacing the lines from the main line to their houses.
Okay,
We're connecting to them.
Connecting to them.
The lines that currently exist, or if there is no house, there will be a new line that can be connected to.
Got it, okay. Well, good, I'm glad that we can use the CDBG funds.
Right.
Any other questions or comments about this ongoing saga of our infrastructure? Okay, do I have any other comments? Mike?
No, I don't have any other comments. Well, I can make the motion when we're ready. I don't have any further comments.
Go ahead.
Okay. I move that we accept the low bid received from Lina Weaver Construction in the amount of $160,760 for the 4th and Olive Alley CDBG Sanitary Sewer Project.
Second. This is the motion in a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Wills.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And I vote aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Okay, first consideration, ordinance. First consideration ordinance IRB for luxury imports.
Assistant City Manager Taylor Setter will start on this item.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. Tonight before you is the first consideration of issuing taxable industrial revenue bonds for luxury imports located at Eisenhower and 4th Street. And just as a refresher, last year we went through another economic development tool process with luxury imports, and that was for the CID, the Community Improvement District. And that was a different type of tool which allowed for a 0.4% sales tax added to their sales tax that they already charge to go back to improvements for this project, which is repayable over 20 years. This development tool, the IRB, is simply a pass-through type process. It doesn't involve any debt or issuing of bonds from the city, and it simply allows them to utilize our tax exemption certificate on purchases of equipment and machinery and building materials for their improvement projects. And they have already started on several of these projects, including several new parking lots, which gives them a lot more visibility and ability to have more inventory on hand so that they can increase their sales, which I hear they're accomplishing already. And then I think the biggest impact of the IRB process for them is the renovation of their current building and the building of a second new building on some land that they acquired from the adjacent bank. So their attorney that's guiding them through this process, Pete Heaven, is also on the call with us. And I'm here to stand for any questions you might have, but tonight we're looking for consensus for this to go to second consideration.
Do we have any question of Mr. Tedder or the attorney?
I mean, I have comments, I've been out that way, and it wasn't really nice what they're doing. That bad out there, that it's not yet. Yes.
So, yeah, the project, they've started, obviously they started the project, right? I mean, they started, I don't know when they started, but they started in 2020 sometime, didn't they?
Yeah, I think towards the beginning of that last quarter, they did start, and on November 30th, we were able to, because of your resolution of intent that you passed, we were able to provide them the sales tax exempt certificate, so they are able to get that process moving quickly, but this will have to be passed for it to stand up.
Madam Mayor, I'd ask Mr. Heaven, isn't it? Mm-hmm. See if he has, because I remember he came here last time in person, didn't he? And gave us a pretty good update. I just asked him if he has any input at this time.
Mayor, Commission, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Pete Evans, 6201 College Boulevard. I represent Ted Ray and his luxury and import facility of 4th and Eisenhower. We're very pleased to bring this $2.5 million project to the city. It's going to give us a lot more visibility, ability to work on cars, detailing, and most importantly, sell high-end automobiles in Leavenworth. So if you have any questions of me, I'm standing by.
Any questions?
No, what I always like to state whenever we hand out IRBs, not hand out, but award IRBs,
right,
is we are not giving any money to a facility or whoever the receipt of the IRBs. What we're doing is if they buy any raw materials for their, whatever raw materials they buy for their construction, they get to buy it sales tax free. They use City of Leavenworth's certificate, for lack of a better term, and so they get that sales tax free. In theory, if that product was bought in the City of Leavenworth, the city would lose out on 2 cents of every dollar, and the county another 1 cent of every dollar. The reality is most of this heavy equipment that is purchased for building, very little of it is bought in the city or county of Leavenworth. Sales tax wise comes from wherever it may come from. There's a lot of small things to do that go to growers to pick up some things to fix projects or Home Depot or things like that. But for the most part, we are not losing out on that much, but it does, it pays dividends for the receiver of the IRBs. That's always a good use to give it when they're going to put in this kind of money and employ those number of people.
Any other comments or good point, Mark? All right, is there a consensus to move forward?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Consent agenda.
bit of information. I was a little overwhelmed. I'm like, wow, okay, but it was very educational. I move to approve the claims for December the 5th, 2020 through January the 8th, 2021, in the amount of $4,854,738.41. Net amount for payroll, number 26, effective December the 18th, 2020, in the amount of $367,000, $376.47. Includes police and fire pension in the amount of $9,000, $260.03. And payroll number 27, effective December 31st, 2020, in the amount of $353,000, $308.85. No police and fire pension.
Second.
It's a lot of money.
Moved and seconded, please begin voting with Mr. Whitfield.
Aye.
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 And I vote aye. Thank you very much, sir. Other items, a couple other items. I'm glad Mr. Schimke is still here. I've been getting a lot of calls about vaccines lately, and I'm just, it's my understanding that we don't have very many vaccines. Is that correct? Or we're getting them rather slowly? Commissioner, if you want to come to the podium, you're welcome. We know this is a county issue, but as city commissioners, we get a lot of calls on this.
Sure, and I think, Mr. Miller is clearly the subject matter expert here, but I do know that, the state of Kansas has gotten, obviously been questioned relative to how we've performed as a state to, our peers.
Right.
A lot of the vaccines will miss the county completely, right? So, we're not going to distribute to Walgreens or CVS or larger primary care physicians. They're going to receive those, directly.
Right.
So it has nothing to do with the county or, the cities within. I think they're optimistic. I think, I don't know if it was last Friday or maybe this Friday that the governor has just released a plan. I don't know if that's how widely that's been communicated, but I think it's obviously been, there's been some questions about which groups and which phase, and ultimately we've received a lot of frustration at the county as well for how, whether it's certain, groups are getting priority over, those maybe of age or those that have pre-existing. I realize there's a tremendous amount of frustration. I would urge anybody to reach out to the health department. They are by far the closest to it, and Jamie and his staff have done an amazing job.
I think you really have worked hard on this.
But unfortunately, there's so much that's outside of the county and obviously his and your control. So.
Well, and I understand too that the VA is ramping up, and even we have some discussions with Fort Leavenworth for retirees as well. That on top of everything else, that maybe we won't need as many in the county if we have these other facilities providing shots as well. So as soon as we hear any information, of course, we get it out to the public, and I've shared this vaccination phases by population on my Facebook page and others, and then also the link to the county health department, which has got the best information, I think. So I don't know what to say to the people who have called me, but please just have patience. We'll get it out there.
Yeah, and hopefully they're hearing from more and more people, whether it's friends or relatives or people, especially first responders, those in the health community. More and more of them are reporting, their first of 2 shots, or they've received their second shot. So that's hopefully bringing a level of optimism. But yeah, like the rest of you, we continue to get concern and question, and unfortunately, so much of it's outside of our control. I do know as soon as we get it, it's being administered, but it's nowhere near the quantities that anybody had hoped, I think, at this time. So.
Well, thank you for staying.
Sure. Hey, I'm here to learn. I appreciate you guys having me. So sorry I couldn't be of much more help.
No, we appreciate that very much. It's you know, people are patient, and I understand that, but they are, I know they're still vaccinating the nursing homes, so they're still in that phase 1. And it's probably gonna be a while, that's my understanding, before they get to phase 2. And phase 2 is basically 65 and over.
Yeah.
And then still the high contact critical workers. So, anyway, that's all I have. Anybody else have any comment on the vaccine? Okay. One other issue I wanted to bring up and just discuss with you all is, the St. Patrick's Day Parade Committee needs to make a decision on whether they want to have a parade or not. And, it's something that we had issued the permit, so it's something that we need to discuss here. So, is that correct, Paul?
We could do it as a study session item. We couldn't really take any action tonight, or wouldn't want to, have it as a discussion item without any sort of public notice, but,
Right.
Certainly something that the commission could give some initial thoughts on or feelings, or direct the city manager to put it on, you know, an upcoming item.
We put it on next week.
We can, yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, they need to know so they can get insurance and all the other stuff and their planning and everything. So, they're having a meeting this Friday, so if you have it on the study session next week, that would be.
I'll reach out again to
Great.
Mr. Miller whenever we evaluate these type of events.
So difficult.
It's really gonna be difficult right now to know it's gonna, because everything's changing so rapidly, but.
It is.
Quick question, so is that decision making gonna be based upon the committee, if they decide to or not?
The committee, you know, I asked the committee, if you have some other way of doing something other than a parade that people are gonna be gathered around and
So
pouring.
we do have an administrative policy in place right now that we are requiring, a plan. But it would ultimately, even if they think they would like to report it, it would ultimately be up to the city. Whether we would allow that. Yeah, so, but we could ask, for a draft of a plan for the commission to look at, and I can reach out to relevant, health officials to see whatever we have.
That would be good.
And I can I'll try to get some information on what some other communities are doing. I know Kansas City, Missouri, I think they moved theirs to the fall.
October. Yeah.
And, I think that it maybe loses
That's
a
a
little
great
bit, but
idea,
it's better
though.
than not having it.
I don't think the committee would do it. It's like 38, 39 years now that
Yeah,
they've had something on
Sure.
St. Patrick's Day. Even last year, they had just a little
we'll pull some information together. for the
presentation, and
commission.
that was it. They didn't have a parade, so
Okay.
it may have to be that way this year, but I didn't give them any false hopes for sure.
Okay.
All right. Okay, that's all I have. Any input from commissioners? Mr. Wilson, do you have anything to add?
Yes, I just, did have a statement that I have written up, would like to address any political leader, community leader that's listening. As a nation, we can no longer allow hatred or our political differences to divide our country. God commands for each one of us to love one another as we love ourselves. I pray that God will forgive the sins of our nation. I pray that God will heal our country and unite our state. I encourage the leaders of our nations and the leaders of our community to promote peace, love, and equality for all mankind.
Amen, sir. Thank you. Commissioner Leavenworth.
Yes, I just have something really quick. It's a quote from author, Viktor Frankl. It forces beyond your control can take away everything you possess except for one thing, your freedom to choose how you will respond to the situation.
Commissioner.
As I think most Americans were last Wednesday, the 6th, I was horrified, saddened, and angered at what I saw, what happened in D.C. I've spent a great portion of my adult life in the backwaters of this world, where there's been civil wars, civil unrest, overthrow coups, et cetera. And our country looked like a banana republic last Wednesday. The people that perpetrated this, I think, need to be called on it. I'm very happy, proud that respect various corporations today announced that they're halting or suspending contributions to political candidates and political PACs. I think it's in elections in the United States is just unfathomable. These corporations, more so than the individual donors, they want legislators, representatives to regulate their businesses. But then the next thing, they're going to act as the referee. They want to act as the referee. But then they turn around and they want to pay off the referee. Because they're giving these folks hundreds of thousands of dollars, whatever it might be. It's not out of the goodness of their heart. They want access. They want their business done. And the opiate of politics is money. Just and three of us up here have run for state office, I'm not saying, and we've all been involved in it. In the race for the 40th district in the House, 41st district in the House, and the 5th district in the Senate, just in Leavenworth, those three that represent Leavenworth, $603,500 was raised by the political candidates. And I'm not saying that's wrong with it, but that's a hell of a lot of money, so it's a money game. And that's got to stop. I don't know, maybe the event last Wednesday will help stop it. Maybe corporations pulling out. But as soon as someone gets elected to office on the national level, the first thing they do is start calling people and say, send me some more money, send me some more money. When they're leaving office, as we know, they're sending out things, send me some money, send me some money. It's crazy. And I just hope that there will be a change. That's all I have, thank you.
Okay.
I've got two things. Can I spend a minute just on COVID-19? Because we do have a crisis with American democracy, but the other crisis that's been going on for months is the COVID-19. Just very quickly, I'll take about a minute just to kind of review what's going on, because we need to keep focused in terms of the things we're doing from a public health standpoint until the vaccine gets more broadly distributed. But COVID-19 top line stats in the United States averaging over 3,000 deaths per day of late. On January 7th, there were a total of 4,085 COVID-19 deaths. As of yesterday, 11 January 2021, the total death toll since the beginning of the pandemic nationwide was 375,000. Both figures continue to far outpace the virus's toll in other nations. And then, just very quickly, the county does a really good job in terms of what they have as far as their tracking of their statistics, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So, and they've got a new website, very easy to access. It's just the look and feel of the website is very good. But just very quickly, yesterday's report from the county health department: 102 new positive community cases, 271 active cases in Leavenworth County that the department is monitoring. 42 deaths. I don't think there was a death since last either Monday or Wednesday, but there have been 42 deaths in the county. And then the community positive, the number of people tested, the positive test rate was Monday 9.97%. And that's gone up a little bit since a couple days after Christmas, although it's much reduced from 16.30, which was basically a couple of days after we went ahead and had the ordinance for the wearing masks in public in the city of Leavenworth. Of course, we were followed by Lansing and then Tonganoxie. And I don't know, I can't say that, but hopefully I can't discount that maybe the masks have helped with that reduction from 6.30 down to 9.97. Interestingly, 2 days after Christmas, it was 9% rate in terms of the positivity on people being tested for COVID-19. It's gone up to almost 10. That could be, what's happened as far as people traveling during Christmas. So, okay. And then finally, the total community cases per 100,000, there was a similar decrease from about 700 down to about 425 in that period of around the 15th and 17th of November to the 2nd or 3rd of January. It's gone up a little bit in the last week. But just an emphasis on continuing to wash hands, avoid large groups, social distancing, and wearing masks, and be ready to get vaccinated as soon as those shots are available. So I just wanted to do that. The other thing is, there suicide. There was a man, 42 years old, who jumped off the bridge on Friday, unfortunately. And he was successful, unfortunately. But, my thoughts and prayers, of course, go out to him, but also his parents. And, just another indication, manifestation of the crisis we have in mental health within Leavenworth County, within the state, and nationally. So that's all I have.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Kramer.
No, I don't have anything to share tonight, thank you.
Yes.
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. All right, anything else? If not, I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
We move to second, see if you can vote, Commissioner Wilson.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
I vote aye. Thank you.